Oh, is this America?
Well, it's all you need is love by the Beatles.
Oh,
Yeah, it starts off like that, like a king is arriving or something. All right, we're live in 3, 2, 1. Hey, we're in the right place too.
happy Wednesday, everyone. We're here early today. It's our early morning show we have going on here.
Yeah, sorry. We call it the stop that music. The Sunrise Show. And I feel like everything's shiny. When I was growing up on Channel 10, Doug White and Patrice would do I think it was called the Sunrise Show, and he would have a cup of coffee. Am I thinking of the right person? It might not have been Doug White. It might have been somebody else. But he'd be like, "Hey, cheers to everybody every morning." So we could do that. Cheers to everybody from Doug White and Patrice Wood of Channel 10 WJAR News, Rhode Island.
Yeah, today is, well, this morning, it's like the golden hour. Everybody's sleeping, so we're the only ones up in the house, and we thought we'd jump on because we have some early appointments today, so get it done early.
Yep. So it's our Sunrise Show. We might do 2 today. Who knows? Maybe we'll pop it back up. We'll miss it. Be like, oh, we didn't get to our normal non-Sunrise Show. All right. So I have some things here. I plan the show today, so we're going to be talking about. Are you ready? Oh wait, I actually have an intro. The Sunrise Show with Tony and Rena. Did you like that?
Yeah.
There it is. We're going to go over, as you might have seen in the beginning, CSS, Cascading Style Sheets, our love language. It's like a class. It's CSS 101, July 3rd. Be there or be squared. It's starting now. There's no test at the end, but you're expected to know everything. You like the background too? That's actually my code in the back where it says letter spacing. That was
yeah.
Last night.
Really brings out what we're talking about today.
Yeah, right.
And for those who don't know what CSS is,
I was going to go over that, but yeah, go do it.
From some people that don't code, it is very general terms, is a language that is used to be able to really globally reach styles throughout a website. It doesn't have to be WordPress. It can be used on different builders. And Tony will go into the depths of it.
The depths of CSS. Yeah, just in layman's terms, it's a language that you can code in. People don't consider it a coding language, really. It's more of a front-end language that was invented in 1993-ish by, let me see if I get his name right, Håkon Wium Lie, something like that. I think he was German. A lot of little dashes in his name and like symbols, but he came up with a proposal for this language because before that it was only HTML. And if you know HTML and what it can look like without CSS, it's pretty much just content. So large text, small text, mostly font, maybe like not tables because that's CSS. Well, no, actually that's HTML. Just the most raw, basic thing. So the language was invented to separate presentation versus content, not have it all intertwined. 1994.
The history of CSS.
History of CSS. So let me share a couple things here. I'm going to add this beautiful Wikipedia document to the page. So CSS can be used in many, many, many different ways. And I'm going to show you a couple examples in a couple minutes. But this is pretty much saying every situation that you can use it in, you can target things. So if you're looking at text on a page, you could target the first line of content or the first letter. You can target things by ID, which are individual, unique elements on a page, or they should be at least. You could target things by data attributes. You could target things by children. So you could say the first child or the nth child or even the last child of some kind of parent situation with HTML. You could do pseudo elements, which is pretty much saying before an element, you want to add something else. So it's almost like adding new HTML kind of to a document. You could target things by the beginning of classes. So if you have classes on your website that all start with some sort of namespace like three-tone digital, which you can't start CSS classes with a number actually. So you could target those too. You say anything that starts with three-tone or anything that ends with three-tone. You can target, as I said, the nth child, last child, only type, empty. There's also a new one which they have not added here, which is has, which works the other way, which pretty much says, does this element have something inside of it? If so, then target it, which is really helpful. It's almost like reverse engineering something. So not to just jump right ahead there and start talking techie, but as Marina said, CSS is global when used in the header. So if you're including a script on a site, it will go on every page. What you do with that information, whether you're targeting individual pages or targeting globally, is up to you, of course. But it is a way to get everything in one fell swoop on a website. Let me just take a sip of my coffee.
Yeah, and just to talk about the scenario, as Tony mentioned, if there's a situation where you have a big site or you have multiple pages and you want to make the change throughout each site and not having to go on each individual page, this is where CSS comes in handy because, as we mentioned, it's global. So you target, as long as you have a class for that particular item, you can target it and then make the update. And let's say you wanted to make all the heading tags green, the color green, to really pop. You can target all the H2 tags and then put color green, and it will appear on your 50 pages that you have on your site. So it adds to the consistency and it saves time in the long run. No one wants to go into each individual page and update it. That would take so much time, you know? So this is where, when you think of it from a different standpoint, this is an option that can be done just knowing CSS.
Yeah,
or knowing it can be done too if you have a developer.
Yep, it's the most efficient option. And you know, the reason I decided that I thought we should do this is, one, you know, to show we know CSS. I love CSS. It's really been the first language. I was a PHP developer, but right alongside that was CSS because I had to fix the site and everything was broken on the site. So learning how to do it really improved my everything about tech because it tells you where to include this file, how to upload the file, maybe to FTP, how to write in the file, so use a text editor, how to save files and re-upload them to a server. So I think my history with this it's been very close and personal with CSS. And I visualize things in CSS if I'm watching a show, especially the news with the boxes on the bottom and the top and the faces. I can visualize that as a Flexbox, not to like brag and like my own, but I feel like a lot of people lack that when they're talking about CSS, especially the back-end developers where they're like, I don't know anything about CSS. It's scary. It's wild. And it's due to the fact it's an open language. It's called CSS for a reason. It's Cascading Style Sheets. And that just means it's almost like a waterfall. Things at the top of the file will carry their way down. And it's a good thing too, because some can see it as a bad thing. Like something at the top can affect something at the bottom. But really, it's a waterfall, meaning anything you throw in the middle of it is going to stick to the waterfall, and at the bottom, you're going to have a complete waterfall stream, and it's going to be all the things that maybe were overridden along the way, or even the other way around. So that's why it's cascading. That's probably not the best example, but it really is saying that it just gains over time and cascades.
And just speaking on as a designer too, it is so helpful to know, at least not to be even advanced in CSS because it's constantly changing and there's so many updates and new code to learn, but even to know a general and to get around to be able to enhance your design, because there's a lot of things that can be done more efficiently with the knowledge of CSS as a website designer. So designing in itself And then there's also at least knowing a little bit of code to be able to really create your design more efficiently is so important, I think.
Yeah. Raina has gotten a lot better with CSS.
Yeah, it is the first language, my main language, my only language.
Languages are
I do
English,
know a little
CSS, and
bits of
Spanish.
other things too, but mostly CSS.
Yeah, she's getting good at it too. So let me just, I wanted to explain a couple things, like show some visual examples of it. Is that okay?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
You have my permission.
All right, good. Let's see here. Let me just open this up a little bit. So this is going back to something called CodePen, which we've displayed here before. It's a free, there is a premium version, but you don't really need it. It's a free way to test your code, to put in code from a developer, to try things out, just learn. It's invaluable. Hopefully it always stays free. I know there's other options out there like JS bin and stuff, but this one's the cleanest and allows you to save, share the link, and awesome. So we're just gonna go over one of those weird questions I was just talking about the other day, remember? How do you center a div? And I was gonna actually name this stream, what is an H1 part 2? How to center a div? Because it's like a very simple, silly thing that I guess developers get caught up on in the beginning because there's multiple ways to do it. But it's also, it can be confusing when you're trying to center something, as you probably know, Rana. It doesn't center. You're like, what the heck? What is going on here? So I'm just going to show a couple examples of centering and also advanced CSS in the process. So I'm going to create a div and we're going to call it center me. That was a shortcut, by the way. When you do div dot, it'll do a class. Classes are things, classes are on a page, an element on the page that have multiple of them. So if it's a class, you can think of it as maybe like an RPG game, the class of a soldier or a troll. They're all trolls, but they're all one. Then there's another side of it called IDs, and IDs are the opposite. So it's pretty much saying there's only one of these things on this page, and there should only be one on this page. So that's what a class is. So in the class, I'm just going to put the name of our amazing company, Three Tone Digital. It's going to look like that. This is the HTML that we're talking about. Just without presentation, this is what it looks like, and won't look too much better in a second, but at least you'll see how to center a div. So in the CSS portion of it, we want to target center me and open this up. So there's a few different ways. The newest way, I would say, is display flex. So when you display flex something, you're pretty much saying it is a flex box. And you can see in here, if I start to hover over things, you'll see a purple. Purple means it's a flex box. And if there's a lot of space to the side, it means that it's floated. Not really. It's more margined to the left. So in order to fix that, very simple in Flex. You want to justify the content, if I could spell it correctly, to center. Oh, look at that. It's already centered. The second way is a grid. Display grid. You're not going to see any change here because they both act exactly the same way in terms of centering, at least. Display grid, display content. Then there's also the basic way. Text align, center. So there's the three.
So what was the big hang up of not knowing how to center a div?
I don't know. I think what the real problem is, so let's like.
So if it's a span.
Yeah, do you see how I just made it a span, even though it's still targeting it? It's not going to happen because if I inspect the element again, look how small it is.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So what's happening, if you want the thick and the thin of it, is it's not a box element. A span is an inline element, which is really great because you could do things like, let's put three of them next to each other. And you can see here, there's three tone digitals. They're spans, so they're not taking up any space. They're pretty much just inline elements that float next to each other. So just to expand on this, let's say center me holder. We're going to go over a little bit of something called Sass now. So now we have a parent element that's containing these 3 spans inside of there. So inside of the CSS, I'm going to change this to something called Sass, which I wanted to go over too. Sass is another language on top of CSS that processes the CSS. So you're able to do CSS is catching up, and you're almost able to do all the things in CSS that you are able to do in Sass, give or take about 100 things. But you're able to do variables now in CSS. I think nesting is coming and stuff, but in Sass, you're able to do that right now. And what that does is lets you write in a completely different language, very similar to CSS, and then it processes it. And at the end, it gives you a CSS file on the fly, usually, or you could process it manually. So we're going to target this in a little different manner now because we have center me holder, we have center me as children. So we're going to say center me. And since it's Sass, we could do this thing called nesting. Help. I don't know what did I just for help. Ha. Help. It was like a cry for help or something. Help me in the CSS. So it looks a little different because we're nesting elements here, but we could pretty much say display flex on this holder box now. You're going to see that same purple line, and it's going to be containing all those spans. So inside of here, set display flex can also justify. It's like you can't type when people are watching, even if you're on a live stream. They're centered. You can also do things like grid gap, which will add spacing in between things. Let's see. And what's crazy with CSS and Sass is that, like I said, this is a programmatic language. So this, what I wrote right here, at the end of the day, it truly is just CSS. This is what that came out to right here. But you can see how, maybe you can't see because you have to be in the field for a while to understand the benefit of this right here. But you can see how there's center me and center me holder. Center me can now be targeted right here, making these whatever red. So this can all be combined into one element, pretty much one declaration that when you compile it again, see how it's 2 different things, but it's all combined in Sass, which makes it really, really helpful. And one more thing I want to say about CSS and its competition with Sass. Well, really, Sass is competition with CSS. They both take variables, but the CSS way to do a variable is really cool now. You're pretty much saying the root, so the root of the element, you can say there's a brand color maybe of red, because I do like the color red when I test. And then, well, actually, let's make it blue so you can see the change. So you're saying our brand color is blue, and I don't want to write this blue every time. Maybe this is a certain hex code or something. So I'm able to use a variable, blue. I'm able to use a variable to call this root color. Then in the top, I can, maybe there's a rebrand, refresh, redesign of the company. We went red. Now every time that we want to change that one variable, we can change it in one place. So we don't have to mess with any of the variations down here, any calls to it. Oh, Alexa, you're awake. Alexa is saying good morning to us, giving us the weather and the news. We are the weather and the news, Alexa. This is the Sunrise Show. So, yeah. Do you have any questions on any of the CSS? I know I just kind of went through a bunch of things, but really I just wanted to show that it's a really amazing, adaptable language. There's so much more to it. And this Wikipedia doesn't really show the half of it. But CSS has really grown over the years, and it's become, what are we on? CSS 3, 4 is coming. There's constantly evolving styles that you can add, grids, flexbox, all kinds of things. So I love CSS. They say, well, actually, my first email address is darkcss@gmail.com. You can write it. I still manage it. because I was convinced that when I first started doing design and development, that I was only going to make dark sites. Not, I don't mean dark like backgrounds dark. I mean like metal, like scary looking sites.
Halloween looking sites.
I wish I can do.
You wanted to be a Halloween developer.
Yeah, exactly.
Haunted houses.
Yeah. So that's why my email was that. And it still exists. I use it for spam now mostly.
I'm definitely interested in SAS. I started learning it and I do see the benefits of it compared to CSS, being able to update, like we just showed. And if you want to change a color, you can change it in that one spot and it does it globally. Versus, let's say you have to locate the exact line for CSS. If there's multiple lines and finding the important one and being able to locate it. So I got to get back on that because I started it and then I got busy.
Yeah, it's easy to fall off. Yeah, even
Yeah.
like last night I was working on this app, Skunk Project. Can you see it? Oh, it's not there. This is my CSS SAS code right here, and you can see these like nested. So nested means it's tabular. So you're tabbing over. So this is saying the logo and the image inside of the logo, or the page hero that has the, what is that called? The prefix of XQ. So it's just a clean way. And you know what's crazy on WordPress in the customizer. So the customizer, I just want to talk about that a second too. In the customizer, or the customizer itself is a way for you to edit CSS in WordPress. There's many different ways now. They're moving it over to additional CSS, but I think on most sites you can access it no matter what. And let me show how to do that, because we were talking, remember how you can't access it anymore?
Yeah. They took it away, the customizer.
Yeah.
Well, it's still there. It's just
Yeah, I'm gonna show you how to get there. I was gonna I was like, I wonder if I can create a little Chrome extension last night, but turned out to be too hard, according to ChatGPT. So I just want to say, on WordPress, if you're in there and you're looking to edit the CSS just to mess around, I wouldn't suggest it 100% unless it's a staging site. But you can see here, if you're used to a WordPress, it would say, and it used to say customize, but it's no longer there. So the CSS, when you enter it, when you add or edit CSS on the site, it's now done, which is okay. But you know what I really have a problem with? If you look at it, let's load it up first. I'm just talking about nothing. Look at the little box, you know? I mean, I know it's the same on the left side, but it seems very, very small over here. This is how you would add CSS to a normal
block editor site.
Yeah, yourself. This is not the way I personally add CSS. I'll do it while I'm developing, and then I move it over. Like this right here is temporary stuff. Anything that's inside of the customizer, I think, and according to page speed scores, brings the page speed score down. So it's always best to get this stuff that you've entered in here, minify it. That means all on one line of code, because you don't want extra spaces where it doesn't matter, and put it into an actual file. But if you're on a WordPress site and you have no idea how to access this part, because this isn't always available either, really you just want to add the words at the end of wp-admin/customize.php. And when you do that, God willing, the customizer should open back up. But they've hidden it, and I don't really know why. And then you can access all that stuff right over here and edit. And some sites, unless there's an error, will show you, kind of like CodePen, the things that you're doing as you're doing them. So that's really cool for learning. But what I really wanted to come here and tell you, that there is a plugin that you can use SAS right inside the customizer.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I've seen it used before. I've never used it, but somebody that I took the site over for used it. And at first I was like, ugh. But then I was thinking it is a good idea. So I don't even know how they do that. So something's processing it in between. in the upside down world of Stranger Things. Hey, our signal's been pretty good, huh?
Yeah, maybe we do more sunrise morning shows.
Yeah, so I mean, we went over what CSS is. It's a cascading language. It goes right alongside HTML. I mean, pretty much anything that's browser-based. It cascades because it goes top to bottom. So anything you write at the top will traverse its way all the way to the bottom. That one didn't really make any sense. It was around in the 1990s. It's really adapted. It's not going anywhere, I don't think, anytime soon. Oh, I did have a little banner to put at the bottom of this too while we're talking about it. Sometimes a little bit of CSS is all a website really needs to improve conversions and click-through rates. Inquire about our hourly and retainer front-end fixer-upper services. And what I mean by that is sometimes, most of the time, we go on sites and there's something weird, something wrong. And as the song of this live stream says, all you
A little TLC.
TLC, some waterfalls, you know, like the Cascade. Don't be a scrub. So I just think that knowing these little things about CSS, and I should have went over media queries, but media queries are pretty much saying at a certain width or a certain height or anything. There's a few different things you can do in there, but you're pretty much saying at this certain width or on a phone or on a tablet, do this, move these things here, display none. You know, some people have a tattoo that says like fear, display none.
Oh,
a little too much. Or the tattoos that say like head, body, foot. This is like a HTML one. What was I saying? Yeah. You understand. You get the point. Class over. Class dismissed. Hope you learned something today. Let me get this banner off. All right. You have anything you want to talk about in terms of CSS or our day to come?
I think that was a good overview of it. And I do think whether you know code or not, the biggest takeaway here is to know that there is a way to globally update your design. And the way to do that is using CSS. And it is a useful tool. And even if you're thinking about hiring a developer, designer, it is a question to ask because that goes with the efficiency, and you would want someone with that knowledge really to be on your team. There's one thing to make updates, but when you're talking about efficiency and what's best for your website, having this type of knowledge is so important, I think, for the health of your site, for the efficiency of your site, and also just to know that there's a better way of doing things and knowing about a language that exists that is supposed to be helpful for design.
Yeah, if your web is a red flag, if your web team or web person doesn't know CSS, I would watch out.
Yeah.
Because I would consider them just backend, which is great. If someone's going to concentrate on backend, that means like code and databases and things that are functional, which is awesome. It's its own skill. But front end really concentrates on CSS and JavaScript, things that the browser can process. That's a browser language. Backend is the opposite: server language, PHP, Java, Python, Node, things like that. So yeah, CSS, everybody should know it too. I was thinking it actually brought me back to what we were talking about last time with MySpace, where it allowed you to edit the CSS to a point right on there. And CSS was simple back then. So there was limitations on what you could do. Color, background, centering. There was no flex box. That's new. There's no grid. That's new as well. But it really gave people the opportunity to test that out. Now, there's nowhere to test it out in terms, you can't do that on Facebook or Twitter. They should bring that back. They should bring back remember that on MySpace? It would be like, what's your song? So like everybody had a one song in their profile. They need to bring that back. But I think knowing a little bit of CSS is awesome for anybody. And it's such a relaxing Zen language, like to just watch a YouTube video, learn a little bit about it. To me, it is, at least. I enjoy it. I enjoy writing it. I enjoy learning new things about it, like Sass and Less and whatever. The new stuff that's out. What is Tailwind? I was talking about it last night. Tailwind is like a framework, but to me, it's called Tailwind CSS, but it takes CSS away. You're pretty much saying inside the HTML elements, you're saying margin right, flexbox, and you're doing all these things without writing the CSS because it's already written like helper classes. So I'll shut up.
Just talking about learning something new, I think that's a good thing too. Like we talked about like golden hour and taking time to reflect and understanding that learning something new that can help progress yourself in what you do, and also to know, to grasp a little bit even about things that you don't know is important. So I just think that's an important point to make.
Never stay static.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Take advantage of golden hours when everybody's sleeping, and try to reflect on or build on your new skill.
Your new skill of CSS. Yeah, I always wonder that, like people that don't do code, which is most people, I guess, like what do they think of this? And even as we say 100 times, you should learn some code, or I have always tell people you should learn code. I don't know if they're like, yeah, whatever. That's why I guess they are, because they don't code. But it's still, I do think it's essential. I do think it's a beautiful language too, especially CSS. There's a lot of others that you can mess things up and delete sites, but with CSS you can mess around without, you can always delete it. And
yeah, and there's a lot of tools out there that you can go, like we just showed you CodePen, to go in there and just, you can Google certain lines of CSS. Okay, I want to make this color, or I want to align, and you'll have a starting off base of it. And there's also Code Academy and Free Code Camp that you can just sign up and start learning just the basics to just understand. There's a lot of people, no matter what your age is, that are getting into learning more about technology and how to control more of how to code, even the basics. I think it's important.
yeah,
Especially call it AI.
and AI can definitely help.
You need to know how to control it.
Yeah, when we fight the robots, we're gonna have to use CSS as the weapon. Be like, head, display none, and the head comes off, or whatever.
You never know. We still have a project. It's somewhere. We got a Raspberry Pi robotic dog that I said we were going to work on. It's going to be a project of ours for the summer to try to get this dog moving. And I think it comes with a camera too, so it can take pictures.
Yeah.
And it's something that it's a hardware putting it together, technology and code all in one. But it's something that's kind of out of my comfort zone in a sense, but it's also very interesting to me at the same time. So that was going to be one of our projects. Maybe we start it this week.
Yeah, we definitely should. We need a Raspberry Pi. We have the kit.
One.
Yeah, it's downstairs. I just don't know if I don't know. So Raspberry Pi is like a device that you code on Python to make it do physical things in the sense of gears moving, lights happening, accepting input, so tapping it, and then it doing something with the code and reacting. So the kit that Raina bought me, thank you, which we haven't used yet, is to create this dog that walks around and is controlled via Python code. So I've done a couple things now with the other Raspberry Pi, tapping where lights can go on and off. It's really cool to like code something that comes out in the physical world. It's like a different experience because we
haven't tried that yet. You haven't tried it either, huh?
No, well, just that last one I did with those dots that I was pressing, and I was showing Landon how to do it a couple years ago.
Oh,
it really felt crazy to do something in code and then see it actually function without a screen.
Yeah, so we're gonna build a robot dog.
Build a robot dog. And then
that's going to be pretty wild.
Then when we do the
project,
we'll train it to defend us in the robot war.
They have those now. They have the robot dogs, like the full. You've probably seen them. They have them at all the science fairs and things like that. It's running around. It's doing tricks and stuff. So ours isn't going to be like that, but we're just going to go with the basics and just to see how it works. You never know, I guess.
Yeah, they have the new ones. They're $9,000, which isn't that bad to put a dog with a flamethrower on his head.
Oh yeah, I remember that in the news. They were like, "This is for sale," and I'm like, "Is this a good idea?" It was like destruction, like end of the world status of this dog with this flamethrower,
Yeah.
fire everywhere. I'm like, who is buying this?
That's your birthday present this year.
They were saying something about melting snow or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, some guy was using it to like snow plow his driveway with
That
fire.
would be. We need that.
The neighbors would think we're nuts. They're like, "Oh my
Can
god."
you imagine like us having a robot dog like with flames melting? I feel like that's not good. It's a lot of different ways
Let's do
for
it.
the environment and just to have that.
Quicker than the snowblower, I guess, right? You're already
Yeah,
wasting
but
the
that'd
gas.
be pretty wild and funny at the
We're
same
gonna
time.
do it. No CSS involved with robot dogs, though. Unless we decorate the outside or a screen that's on his head or something. Yeah, maybe we'll get that done and then display it on here.
Yeah, I think we should start it. We talked about it, and let me put down my water. I was just about to drink. No, we talked about it, but it is something that I feel like we just got to take the time and work on it little by little to just see it. It works a different part of your brain, that I think is good for problem solving and tangible things because we're on the computer all day, and it's like sometimes you just want to kind of do things with your hands and create that way as well.
Yeah, that most of the part is probably on the computer anyways with the code, but yeah, putting it together like a Lego set is
Well, this one we actually do have to. Yeah, there's the code, but we're creating a dog, so we have to put it together too, which I think I'll like that part.
Yeah, and the fact that it's not a real dog, it's not going to poop. It's not going to dig a hole in the back, I don't think, unless we code it to do that.
We could have it as like a security watching our house at all times.
Walking around the house.
Attack! It's like a stray cat. Attack!
Yeah,
oh no!
Like an army of them, actually. They all. Anyways.
We start selling 3-tone dogs. Our new service. We can create a guard dog.
Guard dogs. I like it.
Now let's just start for fun and see what happens.
Yeah, it's a good experience. Doing it that first time was a cool experience, and even showing our son like it's possible to affect real world items with code. It's kind of a new thing for me too, but obviously it's everything, stop lights, everything you see in the road, signs, gears, even a car. I mean, that's controlled by a computer chip now. So doing things in code, not CSS so much, the opposite of CSS, to affect things in the real world is just as important as CSS. CSS is really just the display of it, You could have the whole internet without CSS and you'd still be able to read it. It would be kind of gross, but it could still exist. And there's plenty of sites out there like Craigslist and things like that that are just very, very light.
The bank site. The bank.
Oh yeah, the Berkshire Hathaway.
HTML. No, absolutely no design there. I mean, I guess there is some color in it. So
let's just go to that side again.
Yeah, this is the most basic as you can get.
Let's see what they got. They have no CSS. Yeah, you can see here too, like this is the old way of doing it. So see these inline link background color. You can do this. This is CSS essentially. You're pretty much saying these things have styles like height, widths, but it's inline. So you're not calling a CSS file. You're not doing these things in a separate cascading sheet. You're doing it right inline, which is very, very, very lightweight. Like this is probably we check the page speed score on this.
I think it's fast.
Yeah, I'm assuming it should be
because it's all HTML.
Let's just check it out. What should be failing at a 20?
It failed?
How? Let's see.
It's not mobile?
First input. 91.
No.
Could be the server.
Yeah. It's
Berkshire Hathaway. What? Do you need hosting? Only $3 billion a year. We got you. Oh, well, whatever. It looked like it was pretty.
It's doing well. I mean, I know it says
it's doing all right, Berkshire Hathaway.
I mean, when it comes to the metrics.
Metrics and metrics is very close. Yeah. Yeah, so you don't need CSS if you want to be Berkshire Hathaway. You could be just as successful, but our suggestion is learn it. If you need CSS
I
help,
mean, I'm a very aesthetic person where I like design. It invokes a feeling, even in a room. I think it's important to have specific layouts and pops of colors. It helps me personally. And I think for most people too, people want to go to an inviting site. And that's where design is so important. If you're just looking to find a document and download it, then maybe that site is for you. But if you're exploring and trying to stay on the site for a while, learn more about it, that doesn't do that. That doesn't, you want to leave that site as soon as you come on it. Like, is this broken? That's what I see when I look at it.
Berkshire Hathaway. I was like, never mind. I'm not buying a stock in Berkshire Hathaway anymore.
They're not aesthetic enough.
Yeah, so get out there, do your CSS, learn it. I was gonna say one thing about CSS when you talk about interior, like almost like interior decorating or whatever. It's CSS is a very mathematical language as well. What I showed is not showing that, but you're able to separate things in terms of how much space they take up on a screen, whether it be height, it could be percentage wise, it could be the viewport. So saying 50% of it is this, and it is kind of related to interior decorating or that Zen. What you're saying, you said golden hour, but also the golden ratio where things could be set in terms of pi. I mean, like this section, like a living room, takes up most of the room, but then there's a couch that's on the side. CSS can do that same kind of stuff where you're saying, here's the main content and here's the sidebar to the side. Unless the room gets squished and the sidebar goes under. Same thing with like a room. If you have a smaller room, you need the couch on one side of the room in comparison to the carpet or the TV. This metaphor is going nowhere. But I was just saying, like,
I think that makes sense. And then I also think that just like the golden hour, right? It's only there for a moment. It's fleeting, and it also, so our users, you know what I mean? They come on your site and their attention span is
null.
Yes. So they're there, and that's the first impression. And you want to make sure that it does something for someone to want to stay and engage with your content. So in order to do that, design CSS is so important to create those like compelling messages and visuals to hold people's attention. So
yeah,
golden hour is very fleeting, and it's something that comes, and really taking the time to make it as presentable as possible. Same with first impressions, right?
yeah.
So works the same way.
That was a good pre-final statement because I did want to show one more thing as I was thinking of it when you said that. There's an awesome website out there called CSS Zen Garden, and what they do is give you code. All these sites are exactly the same code. Let me see if they're on here. Besides the CSS, so if you click through these, it's pretty much a challenge that says we're going to give you the HTML. So none of this HTML changes. This is all the same right here, but you write the CSS. So this is all custom CSS. So based on the same HTML, all of these layouts, even this kind of stuff.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah. This was like really inspiring to me when I first started CSS. It's been around for a while, this website. And just to see that all of this is the same code besides one file, most likely. Well, it should be, at least that's their part of their, it's like a competition.
Really. Yeah, this to me looks like a brochure, like this digital brochure feeling that I get.
Yeah. That's cool because you make it look like anything.
I really like that, all the dark, whatever that was.
This one?
Yeah, that's like stadium status. Like,
yeah,
you're looking at some 3D, like you have those, what are those things that you put over your eyes? The Meta.
Oh, the VR glasses.
The VR glasses, and you're looking around. This is what this gives me.
Yeah.
Super futuristic.
Yeah, isn't this cool though? Yeah, so if you ever want to see what CSS can do, csszengarden.com, there's tons of them on here, and they're all pretty amazing. Like when you can submit your own too. I've not done that, but I should. You can see how some of them are, you know, these are obviously older looking. This is very, very early 2000s. But the fact that you can do it is really cool. Again, same code, same HTML, different CSS can do that. I'm done with my splurge on my love for CSS. You want to play us out of here for the golden hour?
Yeah, you should play Golden Hour.
I don't have it booted up here.
Oh, okay. So very nice.
All you need is love eating. All you need is CSS love. TLC on your CSS. Do you have any other final words? Or I'm gonna get you front and center, or
no front and center today.
Oh.
I would say bringing it back to the golden hour. Making you just like the golden hour that gives you that emotion. It's a time to reflect it and to have that emotion in the morning to think about your day and what you're going to accomplish. Your website should kind of give users that same type of feeling and emotion depending on what your brand is. So thinking about that and what you want to project is important. And the use of these tools and CSS to accomplish that vibe is something that could really, really help, I think. So go for it. And,
style.
Style.
Very well said, Raina. All right. Well, thanks for joining us on this early morning sunrise. Cheers from Doug White and Patrice Wood and whoever else was on those channels back in the day. I think they're all dead. I'm not sure. Rest in peace, Doug White.
All right. Have a productive Wednesday. Happy hump day.
Happy hump day. Oh my God, it's Wednesday. That's right.